institution. It's like, okay, then why are only the rich people getting married? They're oppressing themselves? I don't think so.
Well,
and so the women who are in the lower socioeconomic stratas are suffering badly. And so
what I wanted to say is I'm a white nationalist because I love America. America's the greatest country on earth. I hope to be rich someday. I'm working part-time. I'm on disability. And I really don't give a fuck. I love black nationalists, Hispanic nationalists, as my title said. All nationalists. If you're American and you're for America, especially if you're Catholic, especially if you're Republican, I love the hell out of you. And it doesn't matter about race. I am kind of prejudiced against transgender men to women because they act too much like women. Like if you notice, just walking about, transgender women wear super, super high heels and dress really, really provocatively. And a lot of them you can tell are men, and there was one I knew who talked about how tough she was because she beat up women, but she was 6 feet tall and weighed more than me. Of course she can beat up women because she's a biological man. And to tell you the truth, I can beat a lot more women up than men, and if I decided to call myself a woman and dress in a dress and shave my beard and get waxed and all that, and maybe even take female hormones, I bet the fuck I could kick the shit out of most women, except for like highly trained martial artists, professional or really good amateur boxers or fighters or wrestlers of some kind. And that's mostly because I'm over the hill at going to be 54 this month. And I heard that in Canada, my favorite guy, Jordan Peterson, is getting in trouble. And they have a law that the Human Rights Commission, you have to call. Now they say there's 71 genders, and if you offend someone, you can be fined and your property can be taken. And fuck that. If it gets that way here, I'm joining the revolution against this country. I ain't putting up with that shit. You're not taking away my freedoms. You're not taking away my Bill of Rights. Stand up for the Bill of Rights. Vote Republican. I don't agree with them on everything. Like, for instance, I believe in the safety net, but I don't think that old Democrats like Kennedy or FDR or anything would be supporting some of the things that the Democrats are supporting today, like transgender crap, shoving it down our throat, gay rights crap, shoving it down our throat. Abortion was bad enough, but now there's people pushing it to like 1 minute before the baby's born, stick a probe in its brain and kill it. It's just getting worse and worse. It's not getting better and better. And believe it or not, I see it in my family who just watches TV all the day and never goes to church and never really reads any other points of view other than the mainstream media. They've gone further left. 20 years ago, my mom thought transgenders were aberrations and freaks. Now she feels like they're like victims of society that we must understand and bend over backwards to cater to. But too bad that doesn't apply to schizophrenics and people with rage disorders, because they don't really bend over backwards for me. When I'm off, they just lock me up. And when I'm off, just like black people, if I resist being taken into the mental hospital, what happens to me is they torture me until I comply. And luckily, I'm not so out of my mind that the pain doesn't get to me and I wake up and comply. But, it's bullshit. It's also there's been 16 black people killed, I think, in the past 2 years unarmed that were found justified. Yes, one is too many, but when you have 350 million people, you probably have 150 people in 2 years humping dogs. Is humping dogs an epidemic? You probably have people sticking their fingers in electric sockets, that many people. Is that an epidemic? See, on what you focus on, you can create panic. You know, people die every day. People are murdered every day. People are tortured to death every day. Bad things fucking happen. Less bad things happen in the US than most countries in Africa, most countries in Asia. The only places that are really comparable is Western Europe and parts of Eastern Europe. Now it's under now that they're out from under the communist bloc. I think since Poland and Hungary are both Catholic countries and conservative, I'm thinking that they'd be good countries to move to or fight alongside against the new communists. The reason they know is they have already tried socialism. That's why people from Cuba, they fucking hate socialism because they know where it fucking leads, and it doesn't lead nowhere fucking good. Well, anyway, I'm going to forward this to my friend Steve. So my viewers, last week was about pot. Yeah, sometimes the right is wrong. And I'm not as brainwashed to think that Trump was the Messiah or sinless. He fucking wasn't sinless. But everybody in politics is dirty as fuck. Most of them are. I haven't heard anything bad about either Ben Nelson from our state, who is a conservative pro-life Democrat, or Ben, or who's the guy now? He used to be a general at Offutt. Or Deb Fisher, she seems pretty good. Or who's the other guy? Not Ben Nelson. Oh, well, I can't think of his name right now, but our Republicans are pretty good and pretty moderate. I don't really like Pete Ricketts so much because he's always against cutting federal aid to the poor. And if you're already getting the money anyway from the federal government, you might as well spend it on the poor. But then again, I can see being a little bit tougher on the poor because I see poor people every day when I go to the local corner store to buy cigarettes or snacks or groceries on those video game machines all day long playing slots basically. And if you're on welfare or whatever, you don't have money to be gambling all day. But then again, the same thing, when I don't drink beer every day, but when I drink beer, I mainly drink it at home. Or last night, I treated myself because Guinness was on sale, $3 a pint. So I went and had 2 pints of Guinness at the bar. I forget its name, near St. Peter's, and it was a pretty good time. Played some music I liked because I don't have any Iron Maiden anymore. Played Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden. Anyway, have a good day. I work today at 2:30. I'm not going to say where I work because they don't have anything to do with my political views, but Oh, and I also have to say that if I were president and Speaker of the House, I wouldn't honor a guy who had a long criminal record like George Floyd and make a big fucking fuss and have a parade. What I would do is find Tuskegee Airmen, because they were really kick-ass pilots, because they wouldn't let them fly for a while because they were black, so they got extra training, so they were better pilots on average than their white counterparts. And they served our country at a time when, during Jim Crow, when blacks actually were discriminated against. So I would thank a Tuskegee Airman. And if any black people see this, talk to an old person about what it used to be like. Even a white boy like me, my grandparents had it much harder than I did growing up in the Depression. My grandpa was a son of an immigrant with like 10 kids. My grandma, alcoholic father, left the family and didn't pay child support back in the day before ADC and a lot of welfare. You know what they got? They got canned cream corn and a bag of mealy, with mealworms, flour in it 1 month. So we have it pretty fucking good. And I can understand why Ernie Chambers is radical still, because he lived through some shit. Back in his day, cops did beat the fuck out of black people for no reason. Yes, that did go on. I don't believe it still goes on, at least not in Omaha, because there's black people doing all kinds of dirt. If the cops really wanted to, they could bust a whole mess more blacks and whites. They just don't have the time because there's so much fucking crime going on. But if they just went and stopped people downtown and did a search and frisk of black and white people that they suspected, you can tell what a meth head looks like. They wouldn't get it every time, but maybe 1 out of 3 people would be carrying drugs or a weapon. So that's how much crime has gone up. But prosperity's gone up, but crime has gone way up. And from what I can see, black people are not being beaten or shot by police for no reason. I have never seen a black person be beaten by police. Honestly, I wasn't beaten by police, but they picked me up by my handcuffs and twisted my arms and gave me a carpet burn on my forehead. But, I was acting up too. I mean, there are a couple good things that AA teaches. One is you got to look at your part in the story. It's not that necessarily you were wrong, but it'll help you avoid the situation in the future. Like, if you go in a dark alley with a guy you don't know and he beams you over the head and takes your wallet, that's totally on him. But it is a good idea to look at what led to that. You were stupid. You went in the alley with him. Get it? So that's useful. That's a useful tool. But AA doesn't say that alone either. That's just general psychology and common sense. Taking a look at your part in the action. Like George Floyd people could look at George Floyd's part in the action. First of all, he shouldn't have been there high. Shouldn't have tried to pass a counterfeit bill. Shouldn't have resisted arrest. Do all those things, you're a lot more likely to be killed. That's why my son, when he got busted for MIP, he was going to hide in a closet, see if he get away with it. But then he thought, no, that'll just piss the cops off because they might look in the closet. He went out and surrendered himself. And he got an MIP and the cops were real cool. And my son is much darker than I am. If you think I'm dark, my son is really dark because he's a quarter Native American. And he inherited unlike me, he's probably not going to be bald. He inherited the really thick black hair of Native Americans. And then he has a facial structure like me, except for he has more weight on him. And then when he was a kid, he looked just like me, but he's kind of gained weight. So he doesn't look as much like me because I've lost weight over the years too. But He looks very native. In fact, people think he's Mexican. He went to Millard South. He was a very popular kid. White teachers loved him because I instilled studying very hard. And I told him that mathematics was the way to succeed, that I wished I had studied math more and paid more attention in math. And he listened to me, and now he's a scientist. He's getting his PhD in environmental biology. And you might think, oh, environmental biology, some nature kook. No, they crunch numbers and analyze DNA with supercomputers. And he had to take calculus, and he's taken advanced statistics and all kinds of biology courses and biochemistry. So, yeah, it's science intensive. The STEM fields, I'll tell you, kids, not kids, but I'm calling 21-year-olds kids. You learn science and mathematics, you'll write your ticket. White, black. Literally, if you were black and scored well on the ACT, you would have, especially, and we're going into a STEM field, you would write your ticket for school. That's honest to God. But it's the same thing if you're white and from a poor family, because Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and also this other place called StarQuest or something are looking for low-income children. Like another thing would be is if you're a poor Kentucky coal miner or something like that. I mean, your dad has black lung and you come from Appalachia and you're white. That's another thing they take into account. But if you score super high, like my son, even if he would have been rich and white, he would have gotten got full tuition scholarship to UNL and scholarships to Creighton. So so don't tell me there's no opportunity. And the ACT don't know. They don't know whether you're black or white. The only way they might guess is if you had a name like Latanya. But then to tell you the truth, they'd probably say, yeah, Latanya scored 31. We want this one. So that's the way it works. And it ain't fair. Life ain't fair. I honestly would love to be a 6'9" black basketball player because I'd be tougher. I'd be a millionaire. And I'd have all the women I wanted until I got tired of having one-night stands and stuff. And then I'd be able to marry a gorgeous white, black, Asian, whatever woman I wanted if I was an NBA player. So, yeah, you don't see many Asians being NBA players. You don't even see that many whites because not that many are as big as black guys. As tall, you know. Some of them are. There are a few white guys, but then a lot of them can't jump. So it is true. But it's not true that all white men can't jump. Just most white men can't jump. My cousin, I can't jump. My cousin is blonde, is lighter than I am. He has blue eyes and sandy brown hair, and he can slam dunk. I can't do that. But he's not tall enough though to play in the NBA or anything, or really at any good college team. He's a little bit shorter than me. I'm 6'1", he's 6 foot. That's too small for most college teams. It ain't fair. Life ain't fair. Some people are smarter. I live in a 1-bedroom kind of efficiency apartment, but I have it pretty good compared to a person in a third world country. I have a large screen TV. I have a stereo, but